What if one of the bleakest plays in Western literature actually holds a secret that can only be unlocked by one of the most profound spiritual texts from the East? Today, we're going to take a look at Samuel Beckett's masterpiece, Waiting for Godot. But we're going to view it through the ancient and, well, incredibly powerful lens of the Bhagavad Gita.
They do not move. This is one of the most famous and, frankly, haunting stage directions ever written. It pops up at the end of both acts of the play, and it just perfectly sums up the whole problem for our two main characters, Vladimir and Estragon, a deep existential paralysis. They are stuck.
And yeah, this is the question that's been bugging audiences for decades. Why can't they just leave? Seriously, what are they waiting for? Are they just victims of a cruel, meaningless universe? Or is there something else going on here?
Well, for a long time, the answer seemed pretty clear, and it was rooted in a very specific worldview that came out of the 20th century, existentialism.
So the traditional take is that Vladimir and Estragon are basically symbols of modern humanity, just, abandoned in this godless, absurd world. They're waiting for some kind of sign, for some meaning, in a cosmos that's just giving them silence. And in this view, their suffering isn't really their fault. It's just the human condition. They are, at their core, victims.
Okay, but what if we just threw that lens out completely? Let's leave post-war Paris for a second and travel to the ancient battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is the setting for one of the world's great spiritual texts, the Bhagavad Gita.
This is where the Gita just flips the whole thing on its head by asking a really radical question. What if their paralysis isn't a condition, but a choice? It suggests the universe isn't silent at all. Maybe Vladimir and Estragon have just plain forgotten how to act.
Okay, so to really get this new perspective, we've got to look at three crucial concepts from the Gita. You can think of them as the keys that are going to unlock this diagnosis of what's really ailing Vladimir and Estragon. First up, we have karma yoga. And no, this isn't just that pop culture idea of what goes around comes around. In the Gita, it's a really profound spiritual path. It's the path of selfless action. The idea that you find freedom by doing your duty without getting obsessed with the outcome. And right here, you see the huge difference. The Gita's hero, Arjuna, he also faces a crisis of paralysis. He's totally overcome with despair, what's called vishada. But for him, this becomes a turning point. It actually forces him to seek wisdom. The tramps, on the other hand, they're stuck in what's called tamas, a state of just inertia and spiritual decay. Their paralysis is a total dead end. And this gets to the absolute heart of it. Vladimir and Estragon are the polar opposite of karma yoga. Their whole existence is fixated on the fruit of their waiting, the salvation they think Godot is going to bring them. And because they're so obsessed with that future result, they completely fail to do anything meaningful in the present. All right, let's move to our second key, the concept of time, or kala. In Hindu thought, time isn't a straight line from past to future. It's more like a giant cosmic wheel, an eternal cycle of creation, preservation, and then destruction. And what Beckett does in the play is create this bleak parody of that idea. Vladimir's song here, it's a total nightmare loop. It has no beginning, no end. It's cyclical time, all right, but it's a prison. They are trapped in this degrading cycle with zero hope of progress or liberation, the very opposite of what's called moksha, or spiritual release. Okay, our third and final key is a big one, Maya. This is the powerful idea of a cosmic illusion, a sort of veil of appearances and distractions that stops us from seeing what's truly real, and it's what keeps us bound to suffering. So, if you look at it this way, Godot is Maya. It doesn't even matter if he's real or not. That's beside the point. The promise of Godot, the whole idea of him, acts as this grand illusion. It's the ultimate distraction that stops Vladimir and Estragon from fixing their boots, from finding food, from simply living, because they're banking on him showing up to solve everything for them.
So, let's put it all together. When you take these three keys, action, time, and illusion, what you get is a really clear diagnosis. Their problem isn't just waiting. It's a profound spiritual failure. It's a failure of what the Gita calls dharma, one's sacred duty. You can literally map these ideas right onto the play. The law of karma, action, is violated by their paralysis. The illusion of Maya is totally embodied by Godot. The cosmic cycle of kala, or time, becomes their own personal degrading loop, and their only shot at moksha, liberation, is a suicide they can't even pull off. It's a total spiritual system failure. And look, this one quote from the Gita just nails the whole diagnosis. Vladimir and Estragon have completely forgotten the first part, their duty to act, because they are obsessed with the second part,
their entitlement to the fruits, to the salvation they expect Godot to just hand them.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, this whole analysis points to a really profound difference in how we can find and create meaning in our own lives.
The Gita has this amazing idea called swadharma, which is basically your own unique duty, your purpose, your true nature. And the crucial lesson here is that meaning isn't something you wait for some external figure like Godot to deliver to you. It's something you create, moment by doing your own duty, even if you do it imperfectly.
And this is the real game changer. While Western existentialism might see the trances as victims of a meaningless universe, the Gita's lens recast them as the architects of their own suffering. The focus shifts dramatically from victimhood to accountability.
So the big, powerful conclusion here is this: the absurd, it's not just the default state of the cosmos that we have to put up with, it's a spiritual warning. It's the state we fall into when we give up our duty to act and to engage with the world, right here, right now.
And looking at this classic play in a whole new way, it kind of forces us to turn that lens back on ourselves, right? It makes us ask, in our own lives, when we're facing uncertainty or despair, are we just passively waiting for our own Godot to show up, or are we out there actively creating our own meaning?